and welcome back to the Property Legacy podcast. We are back for season 4 and today we are here live from Artbnb in one of the gorgeous rooms with the lovely Hamza. We can't wait to get started and let him share his story today, but we've been connected for quite a while. We also do business together, so it's very exciting to have him here. So thank you for being here, Hamza.
Thank you, Alice.
So today I'm talking with Hamza, who is a prolific investor up in Blackpool with a hell of a lot of experience. We are right on the prom next to the tram line, so you may hear the trams in the background, so we can't do much about that. It's part of living in Blackpool. So Hamza, tell us a bit more about yourself. What's your background and how did you get into property in the first place?
Yeah. Thank you for having me on your podcast. So I've kind of been brought up around the Blackpool area, and I've seen like how economically the town has suffered, and there's been low quality housing, low standards of living, and we was brought up around that. So when I was at uni, I started a business and a bit of side income on the side, and I always saw property as a good source of wealth and wealth creation. At 21, I bought my first property, and it wasn't the ideal start to property investing. For nearly 6 months, my tenant didn't pay any rent. It was with a letting agency, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should be chasing the letting agent up. I don't know if this is just the normal what you expect. At that time, I also got a job abroad in South Africa, so it was quite difficult to manage. I also, funnily enough, even after that experience, I bought a second property, a 3-bedroom house in Blackpool as well. And even till today, it's the same tenant in that property. So that was the best kind of investment I could have made. Really good tenants, really look after the house. So 2 contrasting experiences. So I was working kind of a hybrid role based here in Preston and based in South Africa for a company called TalkTalk, who were in the process of outsourcing call centre operations abroad, just at the birth of that kind of industry. When I came back from my secondment there, I was in a funny place where I didn't know what I wanted to do next. My family were reluctant for me to move out permanently to South Africa, and I was thinking maybe it's an opportunity for me to start a business. I was always quite entrepreneurial. I was quite young, didn't have any sort of commitments or big overheads at that point. And because of that bad experience I had with the letting agency, I just thought, this is not how surely a business should be run. And at the age of 23, with no lettings experience, I decided to open a letting agency. I ended up going down the route through a franchise network called Martin & Co. And literally just come across them on Google. There's a lot of barriers and challenges trying to get a franchise off them, as they had a requirement at that time of 10 years of estate agency or letting experience, which obviously I didn't have. I just had experience of 2 properties that I had purchased, and obviously I was quite relatively young. The property industry has changed a lot now for the better, but then it was very traditional. It was very like male dominated, white middle-aged people, and it was, for me coming into it, there was a lot of barrier with no experience, but I sold myself, and they gave me a shot to open a franchise in Blackpool. So as soon as I got a franchise, I had a little serviced office, and I didn't know what to do next. So it was like, how do I get the landlord? And it's like, I remember just calling landlords of classified ads. Remember classified ads in the Gazette?
Yeah.
So like every Thursday or whatever, I would advertise. So I was like, go on and look at the rent your property. We didn't have no YouTube or like ChatGPT then, so it's like figuring out what do I need to do to get the tenancy agreement signed and all of that. But it was good fun and good process. But 3 months into that, I broke my leg playing football, and like I've got all these overheads of an office. The right move costs were crazy.
Yeah.
It's still crazy. Yeah. And I had like 5 properties at the time, so it's like hardly any income coming in, and I didn't have an unlimited cash pot, so I planned for about 12 months of a runway to get to kind of break-even point. And it was difficult. I remember doing viewings on like taxis. It was my dad trying to take me from place to place. But I learned a lot of resilience then, because that was a time where everyone just said give up now. It's like, fine, just go back to your job. And like, I had a good job offer in South Africa and a good lifestyle opportunity and all that stuff as well. But I was determined to really get this off the ground and a good letting agency. So yeah, got through that phase and went through a couple of staff members. Then I was slowly growing. Landlords were starting to recognise me for the effort I was putting in and trying to do a good job and actually caring about finding good tenants and looking after their properties, which was, very positive from word of mouth, and the business started to grow a little bit. I recruited like an office manager, lettings manager type role, which is a bit senior for where I was at the business. And I wasn't to get salary myself at that moment. The business couldn't, really support that. But I thought for me to accelerate business growth and really try and get a senior person in. And that was probably the best decision I did, even though it put me under pressure financially. But in the long term, it really accelerated my business growth. They were bringing a lot of experience. And I feel like investing in the right people is so important.
I think investing in any type of business as well, any investment feels really scary. Especially because you automatically think of like the worst case scenario, like what if it goes wrong, and it's like, well, what if it goes right? And you just said that was such a big thing that you did, and thank God it was such a good decision. But you could have stayed in the exact same place for another 5-10 years, just quite comfortably, just keeping ticking along, but then it wouldn't have been the scale that you wanted it to be as well. So I think in every industry you're in, but especially property, we speak to people all the time and they're like, I'm so scared to invest, I'm so scared to, what if it doesn't work? And it's like, but what if it does? Like, what does the other side look like? So it's so nice that you've had that experience as well, because so many people we have conversations with, they feel like it's just them that has those thoughts, and they can...
It's those limiting beliefs that everybody has. That you always talk to yourself in your head, and those kind of negatives are always holding you back. And it's really why we do this kind of a podcast, so that people talk about the same things. They go, well, that's exactly the problem I've got. That's exactly the issue I've got. I've had it myself, that I went through a period of time when I'd try to do everything myself because I could do it cheaper than get somebody else in. But then it means it takes a hell of a lot longer, and I'm stressed out.
Look, we all got limited resources, but we can outsource in areas, and you guys offer coaching, I do, sort of mentorship programs, and it's like, you're buying that experience. You can't put a price on it. It accelerates things for you so much. So when I was employing that person, I'm like, then 35 grand a year was a big salary for me, and it's like, I didn't have the profits there. But first of all, I was buying that person's 15 years worth of experience. They were like also acting like my mentor. Thirdly, it was creating a lot of space for me to do things that are going to have a bigger impact. So that was the time where I started networking. I actually joined BNI at that time, and I know you guys are quite active in that networking scene as well. And it put the pressure on me also, right, I've got these overheads. What activities do I need to do to bring in income? Because I have to pay these bills end of the month. And if you have that, you will go and do the right things. Otherwise, like you mentioned, Alice, you can get comfortable doing the mundane things and staying in your comfort zone.
And as well, you're not just playing at it. You've got to find a way, and that's the thing that I found gives you the drive and the determination to get up out of bed every day and move the needle on what you're doing. Like, it can be so easy to just go, oh well, I could do that, and then just not. But then you think about the places that we could have stayed in if we'd have just stayed in that mindset and not just gone, oh, just chuck a little bit of risk in and see what happens.
You'd still be at the NHS.
I'd still be in a rubbish job. So you took this person on, and then what else happened?
So look, there's probably like 2 years, 3 years of it just being a struggle, just getting the business off the ground, trying to learn the trade myself, not really knowing how I kind of can stand out in this crowded marketplace. Blackpool's a tough rental market with low standards from landlords, also a difficult kind of tenant set as well, and a very difficult demographic to deal with. So I'm not saying there's not great tenants, but we have that whole market there. So it's trying to navigate, how do I kind of do what I need to do. So say it was 3 years of not much progress, probably 0 to 100 properties, at least covering kind of my overheads. But in that time I mastered kind of my skill. What really landlords wanted was that personalised service where the letting agent is seeing their property as an investment, and they're trying to instruct us as the agent as their investment advice. How can we get the best tenants so we can maximise the return on their investments? How can we make that property stand out and so we can get the better tenants? And I was really coming from that angle. And as a landlord myself, I understood exactly the landlord's need. And the basic thing I did that had the biggest impact is I communicated well. Like, as long as I just go and reply back to the landlord, send that email within the hour, and they don't have to chase me, that was great. In my business, it's like, look, you can never have no one chasing you. Just communicate. And look, when your property on the market, we don't understand what it's like for a landlord. The landlord's got a void period, they've got mortgage bills, they're just normal people, and having a property is also a liability, you know? And I understood that, and I was really good at getting tenants in quick, and reducing their void periods, and just looking after the landlord's interests. So we then rapidly kind of scaled. So I went to 100 to like 250 probably in year 3 to 4. We moved into a high street offices, and we really started, like, we made some really nice offices. This is like 2015. And then the letting agents, they used to start, you know, like old solicitor firms you see now, and like they've not invested in it for 20 years. It's just kind of like that kind of marketplace. So you had some really nice, fresh office space. We were able then to attract good talent, from other letting agent, estate agents. They were, you know, starting to take notice, and they came. And then I thought the next step would be kind of growth in different areas, and then we fueled that with acquisitions. So I did 4 acquisitions. First couple not so great, like I lost a lot of landlords, process, I didn't probably do the due diligence is correct, a lot of misinformation provided in that process, didn't have the right power team to support me, but after that I was able to really do a couple of good acquisitions and really accelerate growth. And before COVID we had 4 offices, so we're coming out the Fylde Coast, and we had an office in Lancaster, so we had St Anne's, Blackpool, Thornton and Lancaster. But what I realised is at that point my overhead had got so much, the business was only as profitable as it was 4 or 5 years prior. So growth isn't always the answer.
No, the more money you make, the more problems you have.
100%. And I was turning over quadruple more, but my profit margins hadn't changed. And I was like, what am I doing this for? And then my role changed from being a letting agent to more of like a team leader. Like it's more of a leadership role.
I think that's what people forget. Whether you work for a living as an employee or whether you work for yourself, the bit you really enjoy is what you start at the beginning. And the more experience you get, the more wealthy you get through it, or the more your career takes off, the less you do the stuff that you actually wanted to do in the first place.
And you're good at.
And you're good at.
Yeah. And the clients love that part.
You know, and so you get further and further and further away to the point that you're having to then manage people, which I don't know what you feel about managing people, but that's like herding cats at the best of times. So it's difficult really to kind of keep that link to what you really enjoy doing and also move your business forward.
And at that point as well, the service level that we opened to, was it the same as it was prior? Because before the clients, I was kind of like, I wouldn't say micromanaging, but I was involved in a lot of things, and things couldn't get missed because it would become quite apparent. But when you've got so many moving pieces, it's like 800 properties at that point was getting under management. It's a lot of stuff. And we had the estate agency side as well, and we had a team there dealing with that. And I don't say I lost, out of the ball, but I feel like it's hard to maintain that high standards that I had. And like my clients, they still all wanting my attention, and it's hard to deliver that unless I've got systems and the right team in place. So luckily for the business, COVID gave us a lot of lessons how to kind of progress the business. So it's a bit of awakening kind of opportunity for me to kind of revisit the business and how it's going to run forward. At the same time, my dad went terribly ill in the beginning of COVID, and he was misdiagnosed, and ultimately he needed a liver transplant. Because he'd gone too far down the line without the correct diagnosis, he was not now eligible for a liver transplant, and also in the second lockdown, they stopped doing liver transplants altogether, right? And so it was a difficult situation for me personally. My dad was like my biggest motivator in life. I always worked for, he used to have shops in South Shore and Blackpool, that's why we ended up moving to Blackpool. after school, the weekends, I was always working there. That's how I've got such a great work ethic. I don't mind putting the hours in. And my dad had done so much for me, and it's like I felt really, really helpless. I ended up getting married. I was Surveyor who supports in the business a lot as well. We hadn't planned on getting married so soon, but because my dad was getting so ill, we, you know, as a wish from my father, we got married. And then my dad fell into a coma. The doctor says, I remember she said to us, look, he's got 4 days max, so he's going to put him on palliative care now. And at that point, I come across live liver transplant. I've never come across that at all. The doctors, the private consultants in the UK as well, they never mentioned that that's the thing that you can do. A lot of factors that need to happen. Like I need to be able to match. I need basically my blood to match. I need my liver to be capable. My father needs to be able in the fit enough state. But he's 38 kilos at that point, in a coma. So literally found that out and I thought, right, we've got to do something. And I remember just like 2 nights, sleepless nights, was calling that you couldn't do it in the UK. We could look at overseas hospitals. Very hard to move. In second lockdown, very difficult to travel. So ultimately, in that like crazy 24 hours, we found a hospital in Turkey, and literally the next day, we ordered a private jet because we can't put my dad on the plane. Had to put a doctor on there because everyone was like, look, he's not going to make this flight, whatever. Everyone I spoke to as well, they're like, look, he's crazy, he's not going to survive this liver transplant. He's like, you can put yourself at risk. I had to give pretty much all of my liver for there to be any chance. Usually when you do a live liver transplant, 50%, and that, because the person's still okay, they can survive off that and the liver will grow back. But it's just on my inside that I knew this is what my purpose is, I need to do it. The doctors, everyone, even against their advice, my own family members, like, don't do it. I just felt like it's something important I had to do. But the plane came, it landed at Manchester Airport in the private kind of chartered air terminal, and then I wasn't able to discharge my dad because he can't self-discharge, he's in a coma, and I didn't have power of attorney. So John Menzies, local MP, was a friend, one of my dad's friends, knew him, so literally got into him. He put a call into like a local judge. Everything was on Zoom, and then we were able to get him discharged that way, which is crazy how things, if you put your mind to it, how things can happen. So the following day, we got another plane, and even little things like trying to get an ambulance. You have to get a private ambulance to transport in there. We had to get a doctor onto the plane. So basically, I took him to Turkey. Absolutely amazing service. So the guy that was going to do the operation, he was a professor, and I can't remember now the hospital name, but an American hospital. He is teaching there in terms of liver transplants, and he is the one that was going to be leading the operation. And within 2 to 3 days after that, basically as soon as I got there, everything checked out. I was super fit and healthy at the time, and like I'm so glad, like I really looked after my health, and everything matched. We did the operation. It took 9% of my liver. So basically the chances of my dad surviving was 10 to 15% of the operation. So the risk for me was, if you start this procedure, when I wake up my dad won't be alive. And because taking 90%, there's so much chance. Because you're cutting all the veins off your liver, internal bleeding is such a high probability. But luckily, like, everything really, really went well. And probably gave me the opportunity to actually fund that. And plus, a lot of people would have said in their mind, I haven't got the money to do it, so I can't do it, just give up. But I was still 40, 50 grand short. It was like over, 160, 170 grand for the whole procedure. I lost 20 grand on the missed flight. I think it's just nearly £20,000. But I don't know if I should say this actually. So you can cut this out. But we had the bounce back loans at the time. I actually used one of the bounce back loans, but I'm still repaying that bounce back loan. But and my sister did a GoFund page, and we raised 40 grand. Like, it's amazing. And I'm so grateful that she did that. But I feel like it's meant to happen. My dad's been at least 5 years now, and literally 5 years next month. He's seeing his grandkids grow up, he's got such a good relationship with them, and so I feel like if I did invest in property, it would have given me these options in life. But for 3 months, I was in a hospital bed, I couldn't eat for a month, I lost a lot of weight whilst my liver was regenerating, and I realised our business wasn't really a business. It's so dependent on me running it, and it's going to shit. Like, the manager I had, really good guy, best mate of mine, but he wasn't the right person to manage and lead that business. I was always, just shouldering in, just helping in. I was still kind of doing the management duties, which I should have outsourced. And it was not right. It wasn't good for my recovery. I should have been spending time with family. I should have been relaxing. And I was like, literally, I remember taking morphine and trying to just catch up on stuff with my team. And it's a difficult time to change as well because it's COVID and they're functioning from home and you're trying to adapt from everyone working from home now. It's a normal thing, but 5 years ago, it was difficult kind of setup. And I just thought, when I come back, like, this is not the life I want. Like, imagine if this happened again, I shouldn't have the business being a burden and they should be supporting me. So I come across a great mentor, and started working with him. He had multiple branch estate agency business, and I worked with him to try and systemize my business. So COVID actually eliminated a lot of our staff because we realised some of the...
Not literally, but...
No, not literally. So due to COVID, we realised like a lot of the tasks could be outsourced, or we could do things virtually or in a more efficient way.
I think COVID changed every single business in every, like, I don't know one person in whatever industry they're in, whether they're in employment, whether they're running their own business or a member of staff in any size business, if they worked for that company throughout COVID, there was a way before COVID and a way after COVID. There's change in every single business, and things still now, 5 years on, that will never ever go back to the way that they were, or ways they're trying to get things back, and it's like, oh, we've been working this way for 5 years, so.
But you see that in the housing market for Blackpool, because now we're getting people moving out of London to live near Blackpool or Manchester, because you can get a train to Euston for that 1 day a week. You have to go in, or the hybrid working, the working from home. Just people living all around the world working for companies in the UK, in America. You don't have to be in that office.
And it's great, and I feel like, especially for the smaller towns that aren't in the metropolitan cities, is a benefit. And I think we went from one extreme to a real extreme, because before COVID, working from home would be like that dream job, right? And then in COVID, it ended up by the end of COVID, people wanting to go back to the office as a social element.
When I worked for the NHS at home during COVID, I used to say to people, it's not working from home, it's living at work. That's what it felt like.
Ahead of the curve, like now people realise that.
It literally was. And it can feel quite suffocating. You can't switch between work head or just, oh, I'm at home now. Like, it's not as easy as closing a laptop and putting it on a shelf. It was bad.
So I set up a work, I got a spare room at home and set it up properly as an office. I couldn't do it, I couldn't make that switch. And like for me, my identity is so associated with my work, and it's like important that I do my work properly. And it's like, no matter what I did, I couldn't get in the zone with work. I still associated it. And plus, when you're working, you need that time then to switch off and go into a different zone. And that's with houses. Like in my letting agency career, I saw so much of bad quality housing and families growing up in that environment. So we're talking about how working from home has affected you. Imagine living in a space with damp, with just basically leaks coming from everywhere, not sufficient heating, cold, not condensation, not proper ventilation, all of these things. Imagine growing up in that whole environment. It's not good for you in any way, and it affects your mental health significantly. And what I try and do is, sometimes I'm overspending and it might not make sense, but for me, it's also about providing great quality housing, and I do benefit from longer term tenants. We still get the issues where tenants will take the make, then it goes damage, they won't pay rent, but at least I'm doing something that's purpose driven.
Absolutely.
And we need that in towns like Blackpool. I feel like if a child is brought up in a better space and a better environment, hopefully they can lead them to more opportunities.
I think that's why we click quite well, because that's one of the reasons why we set up the education side of our business, was by teaching people to get into investing will actually improve communities all over the UK, rather than just as an investor improving one property at a time. And that's the whole point of the Property Legacy podcast, and it's just that getting that education out there raising the standards.
Do you know what? It's absolutely amazing what you guys are doing, and we need a lot more landlords. There's some really good landlords in Blackpool doing it, but you guys must have come across when you've done a house up on a really dilapidated road, and then another landlord seen what you've done and see what rent you've got, and they'll go and do the same. And that's that trickle effect we want to have. And yeah, we've got like the local authority that didn't really work positively for the private landlord. So we came back from Turkey, and I was like, right, I need to sort out my business. It's a mess. It's done a lot for me. But it's created a monster. Like, that's how I felt. Like, it's taken over my life. So we started working with a mentor and a great guy, and yeah, realised there's a lot of efficiency to be had. My team really, I'd recruited people that weren't right for the role. I'd recruited a lot of friends. And you do that as business. You want to work with people that you like. And first thing I did is like, right, if I've got a business operating at this size, who are the people that I need to operate this business? So forget everyone that's in the business now, and realising a lot less people. I needed better people in different roles, or I needed bad people now not in the correct roles in the business. A lot of efficiencies came out of that process from COVID, where we started doing online viewings, we started doing online inspections, a lot of travel time was cut down. We outsourced a little bit of things as well abroad. We use tech a lot more, so we started using the property industry is just growing so much, but there's a good few apps and things that we could use, and we just put better systems in place for the staff to be more efficient. So from my staff of 16 people, I reduced it to 6.5 people, but I also closed down 2 branches, which was not what I wanted to do, but I realised we managed these properties for 2 years without the physical offices open, and for high street offices, from the outside you don't realise, but just a standard small high street offices, the overheads will hit 8-9 grand without salary staff, just with your right move, your account tax, rents, all of this kind of stuff. So it's like, right, and you need one person just operating, manning that office every day, no matter what, from 8 to half 5 or whatever. So that, right, got rid of them overheads, and I had to get rid of a few people, unfortunately, but really had a really efficient business, and I set a policy of me only coming into business 1 day a week. So what that meant was the staff had to take responsibility for their role and do what they had to do and not be dependent on me. And I also forced myself not to get involved because I wasn't physically there. And that one day that I come in, all I was doing is checking with my team, focusing on the team. Because I realised, look, you can't be a letting agent and manage a portfolio this big. I've got to lead my team. And I also had this kind of feeling that the way my business ran the best when I had that like great growth initially was that landlord had that one point of contact. My business now broke down into a corporate structure where for my agency go to one person, for letting of the property go to one person, for onboarding, potentially like giving your property to us, you speak to a salesperson. And landlords that didn't really want that. What they wanted was one person, and that's my person managing my portfolio. So I broke down my business into portfolio managers, which is a game changer. And it's basically what I was when I started the business. The landlord just had me and maybe a couple of people supporting me in the background. And that's what we created. We created like 4 or 5 roles, and they're managing X number of properties. And that is a one point of contact for the landlord. And landlord's kind of getting the Hamza originally they had in this new version. And that really worked. Now, because the business is systemized, it doesn't require me, and it's become super profitable, which is like, it's crazy because I'm working less in the business and I'm actually making money now and I'm not going to headache. It's become very sellable, and I think because it's had like a lot going on, I'm still recovering, like it's a couple of years process for me to really kind of get back. It was a journey I had to go through for the recovery process, and I just thought, you know what, this might be the right opportunity for me to look at other opportunities elsewhere. So I sold the business in 2022, and it landed just over 10 years in the business, and it's like a good time, I think, for me to kind of focus on something else. So really enjoyed that whole experience. But if I was to do a business now, I would implement all of them great things from day one and not create something where the business controls myself. But saying that, it's like easy for me to say that now, but I know at the beginning you're not going to have resources to go and get a manager in from day one. You can't go and buy that expensive CRM from day one. You might have to use Google Sheets, but now you've got ChatGPT. Like, oh my God, like, How much time would that have saved? You've got YouTube, you can educate yourself. You wouldn't have to get all these mentors and go to expensive training sessions.
Yeah, you can learn so much now for nothing.
100%.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But you got all of these and people still won't do it. But I realise the skill that you need, it's actually that belief in yourself, that determination. And setting up a business is shit, like, it's hard work. Unless you really want it.
It's the least paid job you'll ever have when you're starting up.
100%. And it's just trying to have a real reason to do it. And for me, it was like, I really want to be a good letting agent. And I always had like a target, I want to get to 1,000. I never got to 1,000, but there's people in the business that start at the same time as me, and there's still 1,900 properties. So having that North Star to really motivate you, and just start writing in your journal every morning, I'm going to do that. Because getting to 1,000 might mean I can buy my family that house, I can have that lifestyle, I can put my kids in that school or whatever. Having that end goal is so important, and you'll come across a lot of people like they don't have any big goal that they're working towards, and then you just get trapped in emotion. Like, it's like you can go gym, unless you've got a goal, you will just carry on going gym for a year and you won't achieve anything. And just like with business and with life,
it becomes a social part of your life, doesn't it? That's what it does.
Exactly.
It's definitely the way to go forwards with business these days.
So I've got that capital injection in now, like, right, I'm going to literally, I've got a little portfolio. So as I was building the letting agency, now people think letting agents are property people, and they're not. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, they don't invest in property and they don't get property investment.
Yeah.
So it's two different worlds, and there's a misconception that they understand yield, understand what a good investment looks like. It's not, right? But I was kind of like a little bit different in the sense that I was also investing. I did a few commercial tourism stuff. I did the Airbnb stuff before it like really took off now. I grew a portfolio of like, but I didn't have a strategy. It's like, oh, this looks like a good deal, and it's like, okay, we'll get that. So basically, my strategy then was like saving up as a deposit. That whole delayed gratitude thing, I wasn't really spending money on flashy cars, holidays, or anything. Just really dialed in, locked in, right. I'm really motivated. My purpose was to support my family and my dad and everyone. I was really locked in to build like something good for my family and everything. Every time we got a bit of a cash in there, we just invested in property. Then it got to a point where it's like, I was reviewing everything, like, you're putting a lot of money in and not getting a lot of money out. Like, what should I be doing? And then when your portfolio starts to grow, management-wise, it becomes a bit of a ball if you have like a very mixed portfolio. And we know like the best people that succeed in their field is when they specialise in something. And it's like really started to really take into blocks of flats, like multi-unit blocks in Blackpool. So Blackpool, for people that don't know the market, one of the densest populations in England. You know, even though it's not like a big city, but like you've got one guest house that's been converted into flats. You've got 20 people living in that house, right? One of the highest housing benefit. Probably. Is it the highest housing benefit? Probably, I think
it's one of them,
It's down to the whole benefit system. If you're on benefits and you're in the middle of the country, why not go and live at the seaside? That's, you know, you still get the same benefits. So it means that people will get drawn to seaside towns and drawn to big cities to have that kind of extra life.
And square meters wise, one of the cheapest places to buy, right? But
because
and because you've got a very dense population, you've got good reasons for people to live in Blackpool. The rents are still significantly high. So when you compare it relatively to what we're buying for, wow, right, you can really make some money here. So I thought, right, let me do multi-unit blocks. So then started kind of like exploring that. Airbnb is like too much of a headache in Blackpool. Like we had like one where we had like over 100 people turn up, like TVs getting dropped and stuff like this. So I was like, can't be doing this, like, I need to keep my life a bit simpler, and started just building up a portfolio. So I thought, I'm going to do a couple of years of trying to build a portfolio, and then I'm going to move abroad. Like, I need to leave Blackpool, I've done enough, I've done my part in Blackpool, I'm going. 3 years later, I'm still not bloody there. So I still need to figure out how to do that. And done one project, really kind of, my identity's always been associated with me being a letting agency, but after that whole experience with my dad and the liver transplant, I felt like I'm not clear that much on my purpose. So I've kind of been seeking like some challenges, something exciting, and I've enjoyed doing the blocks of flats because we've been able to provide really good quality accommodation. We sit in the upper quartile of rent, so we're getting the good tenants in, and it's not just our properties, it's also that triple effect on other people seeing what we're doing and it's encouraged them, which is absolutely fantastic. It just improves the whole area.
Yeah.
Now, slowly I was doing that, and then one of the properties I purchased in COVID, purchased a few properties in COVID, blind in auction, you couldn't really go and view them. One was in this block on the corner here, 11 flats, like 300 odd grand. I thought, yes, easy. I've never done more than 3 flats. I thought it'll be the same as doing a house, but just 11 flats, but it was a nightmare to build out. You can't use the same trades that you're using on, say, a 3-bedroom house. It's a full-time job in terms of project managing.
Yeah.
And if you have delays, they compound quickly across the flats. If you go off budget, it compounds quick. It's not like you can swallow, say, for example, £10,000 in a house, and if it goes over budget, but you're only going £10,000 out of a fair flat. Yeah. So a lot of lessons learned from that development. Quick numbers, the project ended up costing me $850. Refurb just went silly, and then my bridge ran out, I had to re-bridge, and just like, a lot of costs associated with that. I was still in the lettings game then, so it wasn't my full priority. But I had the cash flow coming from there, from my business, and which is a bad thing because it gave me that comfort blanket. If I didn't have that cash flow, I would have prioritized getting that done and seeing that as just empty. And so got it over, but then I only got valued at 680 grand, so a lot of my cash was got stuck there. It got valued low because there's no real comparables in Blackpool at the upper quartile, so when the surveyors will come in, they're still going to compare it to another average block of flats. And yeah, I get it, it's still Blackpool town centre, even if you do it good, but it really taught me like, you can't create a good product and then expect what you want for it. The market is the market when it comes to resale or whatever.
There's always that ceiling. Always that ceiling.
Even though I'm getting double the rent of what average town market rent is, the surveyor's still going to base the valuation on average market rents as well.
Was that a residential survey or was that a commercial survey?
It was a commercial survey.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's a value you get like 11% valuation, real valuation, based on. It wasn't the average market rent, slightly higher, but it wasn't the actual rents.
Which is daft because if you're getting the rents in,
Yeah,
that should be what it's based on.
100%. But lessons learned, spec was over the top because it probably not got. I definitely get the valuation from the extra spec I spent on, and the rents I might have got similar. So sometimes you think about it, your rent might have dropped 50 quid, but you spent 10 grand extra on that flat to get that spec. So you rather take that 50 quid less because that's £600 difference over a year. You're never getting that 10 grand back. So it really taught me that, look, I'm passionate about doing great homes, but it's not sustainable, especially now I'm doing property owners.
Not in this particular area or in this particular remit.
You've got to know your market, you've got to know your numbers, you've got to make that deal stack on its own.
Yeah. The average 1-bedroom apartment in Blackpool is 60 grand. That's it. You're not going to get more than 60 grand, even if you have 10 of them, really high spec. You're just going to struggle to get more of that in the FY1 postcode.
100%.
And it's knowing that information before you go into it.
Yeah.
Going, yeah, well, if that's my figures I'm basing my end GDP on, that's what you're going to be getting. And then you come backwards from that and go, right, well, if I'm doing that, I'm not going to put granite worktops in. I'm not going to put, really, really high spec.
Yeah.
You just have to work for your market.
And an ideal tenant, right? They don't actually that fussed about, like they're talking about, I'm going to put a meter by meter tile. You know, they'd be happy with a normal tile. They're not even going to pay attention. But it is important to give them a better product than what's out there at the moment. And
the thing is, you forget that that's extremely easy to do. You don't have to do much to make it better than what's out there.
Exactly, and that's the lessons I've been learning now. You
Yeah.
know? And even though I've got a keen attention to detail and I've got over the top, our customer, they just want something that works, cleans, and is designed well. And design isn't actually that expensive. You can get, like, I feel like, as long as you get a nice kitchen, be clever with the decor.
Yeah.
You've got a feature wall in, tenants are happy, right?
We never go and get a Wren kitchen.
Yeah.
We'll go and get a B&Q kitchen because it's the final touches that does it. Because it's still a chipboard cupboard that you buy, whether it's Wren or whether it's B&Q, whether it's any.
Can I come and look at your B&Q kitchens?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can do a B&Q kitchen, but
If it gets broken, you can go and get another cabinet. It's it's very simple. But I'll introduce you to Steve, the head of sales.
He's been calling me all the time.
Yeah.
Steve, yeah. Trade point, right? He's like, yeah, come down. Yeah, got some event on. Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
so it's kind of setting out your remit of what you will look at and what you don't.
Okay.
Because when we do training with people, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to knock that wall down, we're going to have a big dark kitchen. And it's like, well, the kitchen is usable, then we can use it, or we can change the worktop so we can do things. We don't have to do a whole renovation, costing 30, 40 grand for something that you're gonna rent out. You want it to be safe, secure, dry, warm environment to live in, a home to live in. They don't want Wren kitchens or $6 grand kitchens. They want something that looks really nice that they can really work with. And that's just making sure you hit the right market.
You're spot on that front, and I take lessons from there. And I'm very much about doing something right. Like that's but it's also the reason I grow my business. It's like for me, my key thing is do something, but do it right. But at the same point, like you guys are mentioning, you've got to make sure the numbers stack and sustainable, because all the business, all the hard work I've done is now stuck in lost money. So, if I spent 850 on that, I would have got 680 at the end for the valuation. If I sell it, I might only sell it for 700 grand. That 150 grand disappeared. I might have getting a bit extra rent, but not 100. It's to justify that extra spend there, right?
No, the only way you can look at that is that this is a legacy business, and a company that's going to carry on well after you are. So it will make. The longer you hold property, the more it makes sense. But eventually that property will actually make you money. But just as we've seen that houses that I bought my first house way back in '88 for 32 grand. Now that's worth about 160 grand now. So we know the market will increase, even though Blackpool tends to market the capital increase is small. It does increase. So eventually, you'll be in the money. That one building will be worth $1.5 million, $2 million.
You can trade that house for a G-Wagon now,
Well, it's just you might be a little bit older by the time you get there.
And also that it's actually a lesson for me. So that 150 grand I've lost is not a loss, it's experience. Because I'm going to learn from that. It's like an MBA in property investing. People spend 40 grand on property courses. Like, what have you learned in that 40 grand, right? So it's like, them lessons, I'm kind of trying to take forward on my current project now. So what I'm doing is, when I bought that project, I kind of didn't analyze it. So I had a few deals just went well. I was quite confident. I wasn't really a property investor, just investing on the side. And when confidence hits, you get overconfident. You feel like you can do anything. I'm like, right, I can do this. I didn't even think how much the refurb was going to think, 20 grand a flat, I did plan out cash flow, whatever. But it really made that experience, of the stress of that experience, made me become more of a professional investor. Made me understand my numbers. So what happened is, I bought that property, but that whole block, the right opposite, we're letting in Blackpool Tower, we're on the seafront, near North Pier for people who know Blackpool, and the whole block was dilapidated, it was all breaking down, so I didn't even think to pay much attention to everything else when I bought it. And that affects my value. So in my block flats, now I think 6 tenants are junior doctors, because even though the hospital is quite far, they haven't got good quality housing there. We don't have a HMO market in Blackpool. So it's hard for people to find stuff. And I mixed this block up in terms of a lot of furnished units. So that kind of kind of accommodates what people would have been in the professional HMO market in. So it kind of ticks that box. But it's not that desirable to live in, even the flats are nice, because the whole area is not nice. So behind me was 2 flats that had been empty for over 18 years. Next door there's a massive building, which I don't know, but definitely over 10 years that's been empty. And next to that is a really old Artbnb, which is still operating, but not a great clientele. And then the building next to it is where we're in now, right? And this is a great project that the council teamed up with art charity. And it was 2 hotels got together as a force, and they thought, right, let's buy these 2 properties. Again, they've been empty for quite a while. And so they started this project, And in 2020, it got ready to launch. So they did the refurb and everything, worked with local artists. And the theme of the hotel was to try and support the local art community, but also encourage artists to be involved in the project by individually designing each room. So different concept. You usually go to a hotel, same theme, same kind of things across all of the rooms. But unfortunately, they struggled to kind of get it off the ground. Sustainable business. I feel like you do need an entrepreneurial kind of spirit, and I think sometimes the public sector is difficult to run small businesses. And then COVID came as well. So so it's a difficult kind of experience. So then, unfortunately, the hotel closed down in 2022, I believe it was. So I'm fully invested in that block. This building looks beautiful from the outside. Oh, nice. I really like it. I loved it. I was really passionate about it. But I was never into like owning, operating hotels. Definitely wasn't what I do. Remember, I saw my business 2022. I want to go to Dubai, right? That's my plan.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of investing in this block, and it's a really nice block, but everything around it isn't. And that's like, right. And then at the same time, I was trying to buy the building next door to mine because I've been empty for so long. I was dealing with squatters, trying to keep it secure because it's affecting my tenants and stuff like that anyway. And then I've kind of started negotiations now with the landlord on that property. This property's come up for sale, the hotel. I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's crazy. So I don't have the funds really to support it, but I really wanted it. So my wife just sent me an article like coming up for sale. And literally, I knew the estate agent benefits of like being in the trade. Is that look, there's a lot of interest. This is like COVID, right? 2022 is crazy time for property. Everyone was rich. Like I don't. Do you remember them times? Everyone was just buying property, and property is thing. And then hotels and Airbnbs like was such a buzzword because everyone was just going on holidays in Blackpool, and everyone like in staycations across the country.
That's a big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's like we never thought that. Oh, you know what? People might actually start going back abroad, but it was just a boom. So there's a lot of hype about this building coming up for sale. I just had my heart set on it, and I thought, do you know what, I really need to see what I can do. It went for best and final bids due to the interest on it. To get this deal over the line, I had to get investors. So my vision was, if I can secure this, I can secure the whole block. I'm in the discussion to try and secure the middle one. And at the same time, I thought I'd get an option to purchase a small B&B, just wedged in between all of this. And them two flats at back, I don't know what would ever happen with them. I don't know how I can get regenerated. And I thought if I develop this whole block, this block would become a desirable block in Blackpool Town Centre. And as we guys know, in Blackpool, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. DWPs are finally being built. So then it was just like, they just aren't in the works. I didn't think they'd actually happen. It's a beautiful big building. We've got the multiversity coming, right? We need better quality accommodation now in town.
Exactly.
And there's all these other little projects going on. So I was like,
This MOD building a new building as well.
Exactly. So some of the staff there, they might want to be in walking distance of their job, right? So I thought, right, this makes sense to me anyway. And I thought, right, let me try and secure all of this. And this might actually increase the value of my block that I lost under 50 grand on, right? So maybe I'm still chasing that under 50 grand. And then, so I managed to secure this hotel. It took 18 months in conveyance to get it through because it's owned by the council, charities, the freeholds were owned by different entities. So it's a very difficult transaction. My oversight was a hotel is a very operational business. And we haven't got economies of scale because we're a 19-bedroom hotel, so it's not like, say a 100-bed operator. They can get the right management team and stuff in place. And plus, Blackpool's so super seasonal, it's crazy. And we are very busy in the weekends, but weekdays still is a challenge. But so I took that over, and it's been over a year now since we've been operating and trading that. And in the meantime, I was still trying to buy that block in the middle, so it's been 3 years in that process. And what happened, I exchanged on it, and obviously you get quite creative with options on properties, and I wanted to try and get planning for Airbnb at the front. I thought, right, my killer idea is I'm going to have this hotel. Operationally, it can manage more units. If I've got staff here, staff are not going to be at capacity. So if I can get Airbnb literally next door, I'm going to be laughing, right? So I thought, right, so 2 applications in now and just been rejected. Apparently, the beach is there. We've got the tower just to the left there, you can see from here. But that building next door falls out of the holiday zone for Blackpool councils.
Which is ridiculous, isn't it? The amount of hotels between here and Brisbane. There's 3 miles of hotels.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously tourism zone. But
They've drawn a red line, literally. Do that little DB next door? They've drawn it right across there. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah. So it's a bit, without going into detail, there's been a lot of...
So is that them saying they want it to be residential only then?
No, I think what they're saying is, if I could prove viability-wise that it has to be an SA, instead of accommodation, they might have considered it. But the cost of building it as residential SA is quite similar anyway. So the viability argument is hard to argue with them. Yeah.
Have you thought about a part hotel?
It's got...
So you still get the hotel facilities, so reception, the bar and things like that, but they're all apartments.
Yeah, great idea. It's a C3 use already, so I still have to go back to C1 and still putting in there. They might be more open to it as a hotel, but as opposed to like SA units, but it's still that whole rigmarole. And plus, the building's quite big, so I really want to split half of it. The front, it's got two clear distinguished areas. That, you know, when in the car park you've got that whole long extension, then you've got the front part. So I thought the front part is the same square metre, it's exactly the same as what we got the hotel. So I thought if you could use that as the SA, and the rear as residential units, because the rear, they're all studios, so it's quite good because I've got a lot of units in that small space. If I went with planning now, Blackpool Council that 55 metre square metre requirement, then 17 flats at the back would have come down to about 8.
This is
so like viability wise it makes it difficult, right? So, and the rents obviously, when you stack it up, it doesn't make sense. So I exchanged and paid a chunky deposit, paying costs as well throughout, like council tax and stuff like that, took on responsibility for that. The guy I'm buying it for liquidated his company. And it's like, you never think if you exchange on property, you will not be able to go and buy it. You think it's a done deal. Even my solicitors, like, didn't know what to do. Like, it's never happened to them and never occurred to them. Really, I never thought, like, you wouldn't think you're going to exchange on property and then you don't have the option then to buy it because something's happened from their side. So you think all the boss did. So, yeah, for whatever reason, he's liquidated his company. Now, we are PGs when we get mortgages in our company names, right? It wasn't a thing then. So for him, it made financial sense.
So about him liquidating the business?
Yeah, so he's liquidated the company and like my deposits basically disappeared into thin air. Now, I could walk away, but I'm so kind of invested in that. I've now also bought the hotel to try and develop this whole block. I was like, oh my God, back to square. Now I'm fully invested. I've got my cousin on board as an investor down south, who's based down south, and he's not really happy with this hotel. He's not making no money or whatever. I just took him on the ride with me and it's really sold him the whole vision. And I really need to get this thing. So now receivers have taken power on behalf of the bank who had the mortgage, who the landlord had the mortgage with. And luckily, we've been able to build a good relationship. So property is always about relationships. I feel like they're the biggest lesson I've learned anyway. And we've built a really good relationship. He's obviously got evaluations and everything. And they're about to put it on the open market, but due to this kind of standard discussions, we're able to negotiate a price with them. So it's like starting again the whole purchase, paying the deposit, reduce the price a little bit to what I was paying for, but I've still lost a lot of money in fees and stuff. So now I purchased the property. I've had the second planning application come back, so I was like, right, now I'm back to square one where I've got the 24 flats that's current use. That's always the fallback. I've just ended up trying to pursue something better, which is like I would have known, like in hindsight it's fine saying I should just go and develop it as flats straight away, but I wouldn't have known that I would end up in this outcome, so it's fine, the situation.
Yeah, so in hindsight, just go with the basic. Get the 24 flats done. And then you can spend the next 5 or 6 years putting the applications in for a service accommodation. And if it happens in 10 years, 5 years time.
The problem with that is they would have wanted all the flats 55 square metres for service accommodation.
But does that include the communal areas as well? So it's a minimum, because what everybody talks about is a minimum of 30 square metres.
That's a national standard,
That's
right?
a national standard. So Blackpool was asking for 55.
So what happened at the front, two of them actually were 55 square metres to take that requirement, but if I wanted all 6 or 8 at the front at 55 square metres, I'd have to rejig all of them. So I'd have to like cannibalize some of the flats and manipulate the layout. So that was kind of the thought process there. But now I'm back to square one. Now we know how much we can build out for. You obviously got the teams. it's a different scale to doing a smaller multi-unit block because I can't use the same trades. It's a lot, even though it's just the same thing multiplied, it's a totally different kettle of fish. Like, you've got to have different structures in, you've got CDM, health and safety, fire risk assessment, all that stuff. So just been going through the process trying to think now, how do I get this project developed and get these 24 flats done? It's been tricky with development finance because our challenge in Blackpool is GDV.
Yeah.
So the development lenders out there, they're going to look at what is the refurb cost from a QS. So QS, I can do cheaper from, but they're still only going to base it on what a QS is going to price.
Can I ask what a QS is?
Yeah,
Because I don't know.
so basically, in the valuation process, for lending process, you'll get a property surveyor will come and value the property on a bricks and mortar valuation and give an indication on the end valuation.
Okay.
Then a quantity surveyor, QS, is someone who will break down the cost of the refurb.
Right, okay.
So these guys are the ones that are working on construction sites for, say a new build site and saying, right, this is how much it's going to cost, or refurb projects where we bring them in and they say, right, do this project, it's going to cost X amount. So I've been working with a couple of QSs. One came in at 850, one's coming in at 1.3 million refurb. But we've got quotes, and I'm quite confident with the contingency I can get 24 flats done for £800,000. Now the surveyor, he's put a valuation at the end. So this is his valuation at the end, and when it comes to development finance, and he's based it kind of on the Blackpool average stocks, a little bit inflated on price, but not really doing it just to what we're building out. But then again, that's what the lenders are going to look at. So development finance, they look at 75% of the maximum loan of the GDV when it comes to development. So the max, say for example, we're looking for a GDV at 1.5 million on this project. They'll come in and say, like, look, the most we can lend you is 1.1, but that means then they have to cover the whole development cost. So the development cost of QS says 900 grand, for example. They have to cover all of that. If not, they won't lend, because if we don't finish the project, they're at risk.
Yeah.
When they're given a mortgage, they can sell that property whenever because it's got baked in. But when I'm starting the project halfway, that 400 grand that's been spent on the project, they're not recovering that, because someone's going to buy that halfway, they're going to buy it at a significant discount.
Yeah.
And that, because they're valuing on a GDV at a low price, I've got a massive shortfall today.
Yeah.
So I've got a current bridge on it, I've got a current kind of deposit and stuff in it, I've got a shortfall there. And plus, I'm still trying to argue like what the development cost will be. So just going through, this is really good learnings for me, because I've usually funded the refurb elements myself. I've used bridging finance for purchases, or you've worked with a lot of investor finance options over the years as well. At this scale, I didn't realise how much of a challenge it would be for the development finance. So the lessons I've learned is, like, if the GDV was better in, say, in a different area, great. You should base numbers based on a main contractor coming in. Really, like, if it doesn't work with the main contractor coming in, you shouldn't do the deal. With this, it's not that black and white, because there's an extrinsic value to increase the value of the whole block. So I can't look at it just solely as a block. I know I'm a bit emotionally attached, and I should be looking at it as that. But I know if I sort the whole block out, the whole block will also elevate the whole experience for people living here, and hopefully contribute to increase the valuation, more desirable for potential investors. So that's the challenge at the moment. But now the way I'm looking at it is, and this is simple now. I've just got 24 flats, no planning issue. Just going to go and do the refurb to my Prism standard that I do, and not Prism, using a brand, and then hopefully raise the funds now by working with private investors who've have money sat there and just don't want the hassle of building out. We know ourselves, sourcing, finding deals, working with contract, working with planning, working with lenders, it's hard work. And at the end of that, we're just trying to get to that 10 to 15% net return, right? But some investors who might have that funds sitting there, they can work with trusted people like us and fund projects. And I'd rather work with local investors than just giving these money to big institutes as well.
There's lots of funds based in London that for pension companies. They all want to invest in property because it's regular returns, it's regular income. So there's,
at 4 to 6% they're investing in these pension funds as well. So,
I know. So I've
they see the value in that.
I've come across funds that they're looking for developments, but they're not looking for anything less than 5 million. You know, it just depends on where you are. But if you're down south, 5 million is a lot easier to find. 5 million development in Blackpool is.
So that's my time now, trying to get that done, and then there's a couple of units in the block which actually the council purchased. Not the council got an order to sell them 2 units. They had to put it in auction, so I just purchased them 2 from auction now. So like, hopefully now I can really just get this block done, and then I can leave Blackpool. So that's
You'll have to.
I still need to find 700 odd grand for the development, a little bit more here and there, and
So what's the end GDV for the whole block then? You think?
it'll be about 4. Because also what happens is it improves the hotel guest experience as well. Because right now you've got such a beautiful building, but next door it's not.
Yeah.
And it hopefully increase the values of everything else, and we could create some great communal spaces, and then create like a little yoga studio and shared communal areas, and
That'd be good.
maybe like that co-living kind of concept that I've got that you see in city centres, you know. And
That's co-living, not HMOs.
It's not. It's not the council get onto me, yeah. So we don't have. So like lots of flats. Like in HMOs and in the cities, you also create a community in that home.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is create like a community here. And like downstairs here, we like you could be opening a co-working friendly cafe area as well, like a coffee shop as well. So we don't have that kind of third space in Blackpool, you know. And
Not
it's
as
like,
much, no.
no, so it's like I'm trying. That would be also something like that. You know, our residents would use or give them discounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the vision. Rental wise, the yields are fantastic. As a development, if you review it yourself, like I speak to developers and they're looking at 20 to 30%, and that's with them using main contractors, and they're not building it out themselves. So I'm not hitting them numbers, but I'm doing it for just that purpose of trying to improve this block, and hopefully I can show this work.
It's a passion project as well. You know, it's something to kind of
100%.
you know, put there that I did that. You know.
And then when that whole thing happened with my liver and I wasn't able to really work, I really thought, you know what, I need to build something that generates an income. And that's my phase in life now, is trying to just build out. And in that time as well, since I sold the business, there's been 14 flats I've renovated as well.
Yeah.
And a few little houses and bungalow and dormer conversions, stuff like that. So there've been loads of little side projects going on. And the block of flats as well, and 9 that I'm trying to work on as well at the moment. So it's like this will then give my family the freedom. So regardless, like until you realise that, you know, tomorrow isn't guaranteed for you, you won't make the right decisions for you and your family. And for me, my purpose is always about supporting my family. And I've already genuinely feel when I've done this, and I've systemized it, so it doesn't need someone to run it. And my family don't need to worry in the future. It's like, I remember when I had that operation, it's like they said to me, you know what, you got 5-10% chance you'll die from the bleeding here. You might not wake up. And everything was a mess. And I had to write a will. And that really made me organise, do you know what, where are my finances, where's everything? And that was great. Like, if you haven't done that, I think it's really important. Like, if today's your last day, who's gonna, how, has someone got like a fact sheet there to sort everything out in life, and that will make you organise your life. So yeah, so like this is that part, but I miss business, Steve. I really miss the thrill of getting a client. I miss working with teams. Like as much as I used to hate it then, but I miss like leading a team, building a culture, thrill of like having like hitting targets, just building something. And it wasn't that much fun towards the end, but that building phase I absolutely love. So yeah,
that's the entrepreneur spirit of getting things going and getting there, and then you can then just go right now. Here, you look after it, and then carry on with something and do it again. I think that's an ideal scenario for an entrepreneur. I'm always the one that gets 90% done, and then I struggle with the last 10%. I hate the last 10%. So I just get somebody else to do it, and then move on to the next one.
It's important to know what your skill set is and really leveraging that. And
Alice is just always having a go at me for waking up and saying, right, oh, by the way, I've done this. Something else, right?
It's good, but you know what? I think that's the difference as well. Like, you're a real action taker, and that's what you got to do. Like, no point in thinking stuff at the moment.
Because not everything will work.
No,
Exactly.
all trial and error, isn't it?
This story out is great. I love that, and I feel like I'm a little bit. Things are slow because I've had so many delays in planning, funding, stuff like that, and it just gets you bogged down a little bit. But I'm just trying to not get distracted with other projects now. I've really got a lot on my plate now. So as much as I want that big shiny object to work towards, it's like right, let's just knuckle down, focus on projects. Because even put it down, I've got 34 flats to develop, I didn't find funding and all that stuff for. I've got a hotel to kind of operate and run, which is quite time consuming at the moment, which is going to change. And I've got a coffee shop I'm trying to open, and I do, I have some great clients I mentor with. I've supported a lot of letting agents with consultancy services to help them grow, exit their business, how to set up their teams and systems. So I love that part. So it's all of that, but it's trying to I find it difficult trying to do everything at the same time. So that's my kind of learnings now. Is like really, if you have the choice, you need to find your why. You need to find that one thing that you do, and just really just focusing on that. So doing 5 things at one time, I wouldn't say is a good thing.
No.
It's just like in my situation at the moment, you just find that one thing. Even property investment, I feel like the people that are really good thrive is find your little niche.
Yeah.
You can make money from everything. Don't look at just like what is trending now on socials and stuff.
Yeah. This is the thing. There's people. It's that shiny object issue, isn't it? It's, it's something new. Don't do that. But that's what's led to the high rental market in Blackpool, because in 2021, 2022, staycation hit. A lot of the buy-to-let landlords switched to service accommodation, and then they're all in the wrong places, in the middle of council estates and next to little old ladies. So it now means our rents are very high because half of the stock disappeared overnight.
But rents as well. Like, what do you think? Like, where do you reckon the level will go from here in Blackpool? Because
I think it's
a challenge.
The
right?
next 6 months we'll have another increase in a hike going up, because you've got selective licensing, you've got the new private rent regulations coming in. That's all costs levied at the landlord. Now the landlord isn't just going to suck it and take that. They'll always put the rents up.
Yeah, it's indirect tax to tenants, right?
All this that is supposed to be helping tenants will actually be hurting tenants, because they'll just put the rents up.
And I feel like with Blackpool as well, it's still dominantly like a housing benefit market, even though we might not operate it directly in it. But it's a challenge for housing benefit.
We do. It's 98% of our clients are.
But it's a challenge because benefits aren't increasing. And Labour have come in, and they've not increased them, and who is now,
They've had 10% rise in the last 4 years.
Well,
and it's not good enough.
No, but the 12 years prior there was nothing, right? Was it 12 years, I think? Something like that. So maybe, like, if I think about it, like, it's 390, right? A housing benefit for 1 bedroom, right? Mm-hmm. The market rent.
More now,
so market rent's what, 550 for a 1 bed?
5. Standard 5 in the lower
so
end.
That's what I mean. They're a massive thing here. So what's going to happen to this housing benefit market? Like and who's going to accommodate them? Because we can rent a 1 bedroom house for 550, right? Or 500.
The problem, what will happen is people will then be on benefits and taken away from what they would have spent on childcare, or what they would have spent on clothing, food, heating. Will all have to go against rents, and that then doesn't help the child poverty issues that we have.
So if someone was watching this, right,
there's a hell of a lot to go through.
I know. So if someone was watching this and listening to your story and where you're at now, and either wanting to work with you or collaborate with you in whatever way would serve you and where you're at right now, what would that be?
So at the moment, I work with clients who are looking to grow their portfolio. So focus really on multi-unit blocks of flats, which is kind of my niche here in Blackpool. I also have supported letting agencies who are looking to scale, exit their business, or grow by acquisition. And I am working with the right kind of investors who are looking to come on board with our project. So if you've got funds that you're looking to deploy and work with the right partner, I definitely want to kind of have the right conversation with you and try and make your own money work a bit better for you as well. We've got a good conversation.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And what do you think? Is that a good context?
Yeah, it's really good. Really good. And I think as well, you spoke a lot about we're not all just talking about and everything went great. Like, that's boring for people to say. They want to know, like, what are the things you've overcome? What have you learned from it? How do we? Because it's so easy to look at people and just see the finished results, especially with social media. That is one of the negatives at times, because we think, well, how the fuck have they got there? Or that's really simple. It's like this week, like nothing to do with property, but I sat in my office on Monday morning in fucking tears. I was crying. I was really stressed. My partner's off work at the moment. He's had a whole career change. I'm like, fuck, like he's my business is doing well, but like his job's very secure. It's that thing of like we live together now, you bring that income in, and I was like, shit, what am I gonna do? And then in 2 days made $3.5 grand. And I was like, right, okay, but that's the thing, that is the ups and downs in business. But people, when they see me, they go, oh, you're doing so well and everything's going great. And it's like, actually, and I've had this conversation with multiple people this week. I was networking last night. They're like, everything's going great. I was like, I was in fucking tears on Monday. Like,
you know what? It's so cool you say that, but you know, as a woman, right? You can still speak quite arrogant, right? I find it difficult. But thing is, funny enough, last weekend,
I always say that. I was saying to Rob the other day, we can't talk. It's good to talk about, but not when you're in the middle of it, though. If you talk about it when you're in the middle of it, it's like, oh fucking hell, it's a bit beggy. But talking about it after the fact is really important, and as well, because you're a man in that situation, because so many people, they just do a stiff upper lip and they're like, but it's fine, it doesn't happen to anybody else. It does. Like sometimes they need to.
But you know what? There is one thing then, talking about that, maybe we can do something separate. Is I got really burnt out.
Yeah.
So I literally went so ill.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Literally, but it's hard for me to talk about. But I know a lot of other guys went to it. I had to literally just go into like a medical resort for 3 weeks.
So many people.
And it's like I never felt that ill in my life. And
I did similar in 2024. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for joining us. We've had a lovely time at the Artbnb here in Blackpool. And thank you, Hamza, for inviting us down. It's been a great time. So if you want to hear more from Hamza, we'll put all his contact details in the description below. But if you want to look at any more videos of ours, then follow us on YouTube on the Property Legacy Podcast. But we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well.
And make sure that you're following us on social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook and LinkedIn. And we can't wait to see you again for another episode soon. Thank you. Bye.